शांति धाम अपने घर की, शांति धाम अपने घर की राह सबको दिखानी है। शांति की शक्ति से शांति जग में लानी है। शांति की शक्ति से। शांति की चाह सभी की मिल जाए शांति वरदान। जन्मों से जो भटक रहे हैं देना उनको शांति दान। शांति सागर वरदाता की, शांति सागर वरदाता की वाणी सबको सुनानी है। शांति की शक्ति से शांति जग में लानी है। शांति की शक्ति से शांति जग में लानी है।
शांत मन हो, तन हो शीतल। शांत मन हो, तन हो शीतल।
ऐसी दुनिया बनानी है। शांति की शक्ति से शांति जग में लानी है। शांति की शक्ति से शांति की शक्ति से शांति की शक्ति से।
Om Shanti. Good morning. So, Om Shanti. So, did you try to implement any of what we are discussing in these sessions? Who tried doing something like maybe creating self-awareness or trying to operate from a place where I know my nature instead of going into the pull or being affected by the energy around me? Did any of you try it? Yes. So what, please share your experience if you are comfortable sharing it.
When I heard yesterday,
Hmm.
then now I am just waking up. I am thinking that today is the good day. God has given us the opportunity to do something for us, for society, for other things. And we are the part and parcel of God. So nothing bad will happen to us. If anything happens also, is the blessing of the Almighty. So we should think that it is not external. We believe that internally what is happening is not outside. If I think that everything will be fine, you are telling that today is a good day, someday is a bad day, but it is not bad day. It is a good day some other way.
Yes, yes.
Like that.
Yes, so that's a good way to look at it. Like, this is more of an application of what we heard day before yesterday about seeing the gift in the storm. Yes, so तूफान में तोहफा देख पाना कि whatever is happening for a reason, and let me focus on the good that it's trying to bring rather than the challenges that I can experience in that surrounding, right? Now, I received certain questions after yesterday's session, and I would like to share 2 questions that I received. First question that I received is related to how to handle people in your family who are constantly trying to put you down or trying to compare you with themselves or others. And the second question relates to the workplace scenario where other people are trying to pull you down and they are ensuring that you don't get your due. So then how do you stay in your nature, or how do you stay peaceful, calm, happy, and behave likewise? This is the question that I received. Now here, probably it would take this whole session to answer this. So today, first we will take our attention to one important factor that is left to be discussed. Now we discussed that I am a soul and I have a mind, I have a buddhi, yes? And then we understood how we can turn the buddhi inwards and pay attention to our original qualities. We also became very aware of our original qualities, that every soul is by nature originally knowledgeful, pure, peaceful, loveful, happy, blissful, powerful. That is good enough. Now, another component that we discussed in the first class was every soul has sanskars. Now, what are these sanskars? So, I simply define sanskars as habits. So, we have habits of thought, feeling, attitude, and action inside us. Now, we will take a very slight look at how these habits came into existence, how these sanskars were formed. Now we will understand this whole process in greater detail in one of the chapters, maybe 7-8 days later. But today we'll understand it very briefly. Now a soul is a point of light. I am a point of energy, having original qualities and having a mind and intellect. Now what happens is, just like every energy in motion, the soul also loses its power when it comes into this cycle of birth and death. There is a law in physics which says energy in motion depletes itself. So whenever any energy comes into motion, comes into action, then it gets expended, and then there is some energy loss. So similarly, I, the soul, also lose my internal energy, that which you call the manobal or the soul power or the light of the soul decreases. Because we travel in time and we take birth, leave a body, take a body, leave a body, take a body. So in this whole process, our energy gets used up. Now when this happens, then just like there is when you are not energized enough, or you're not feeling very physically healthy, what you do is you take the support of something outside to keep you going, right? Like if somebody feels that their legs are weak, then they take the support of a stick to walk. Similarly, when I, the soul, lost energy, I took the help of ego. Okay, and what is ego? Ego is identifying with everything that you are not. Yes? So we started, so there is, when the soul loses its power, then there is a lack of self-esteem. What is self-esteem? We do not feel worthy by ourselves. I, the soul, don't feel worthy by myself. I need something to make me feel worthy. I need something to make me feel I am. And that which I use to support my inner stability or my inner self-worth becomes my ego. Some people, and in this whole journey, we have taken the supports of so many things to make us feel worthy or complete inside. It could be various aspects of my body. Maybe I take the support of the thought that I am physically healthy, so I feel mentally powerful. Yes? So power is a basic quality of the soul. But when I was not feeling powerful on my own, I took the help of the consciousness that my body is physically healthy, therefore I am powerful. Or because I have a certain attainment or acquisition, therefore I am happy. Because these so many people approve of me, appreciate me, they accept me, that's why I feel loved. So we started taking the support of external things to create an experience of something that was very original to us, because we lost our power. Okay. Now, anybody who loses strength in the legs will cling on to the stick, and then the stick will become a very important part of their existence. Similarly, these supports that we took, now if you see, there are 7 aspects of the soul or 7 qualities: knowledge, purity, peace, love, happiness, bliss and power. So what we did is, we replaced knowledge with information. The more informed we were, we thought that's a substitute for knowledge. So then, when we do, that's why, there's this expression FOMO these days, fear of missing out. Because every soul is knowledgeful and you want to feel knowledgeful all the time. But then because we lost our power, we resorted to a bad substitute of knowledge, which is information. And then whenever we don't know something, we have some lack of information, then it produces a certain kind of anxiety in us, because you don't feel knowledgeful. And however much we are informed, we don't ever reach a state where our heart says, okay, now I know. Because this information is an incorrect or a false substitute of the knowledgeful self that we are. Now, in the absence of true knowledge, we only had this bad substitute, so we took more and more of it, and then there is this relationship with information which is very tricky these days, because whenever I don't have a certain information, it creates an anxiety inside. And then that's because the soul is knowledgeful and we are trying to take the support, that stick that we use to support the powerlessness experience through lack of knowledge was information. So whenever I'm feeling, whenever that part of me, the knowledgeful self, wants to exert itself, I'm taking more and more of the bad substitute. But the thing is, it is not a good substitute. That is why even when we have more and more of it, we never feel knowledgeful. Okay. So, similarly, for all the 7 qualities, we have devised bad substitutes because we lost our inner power. So, we came up with bad substitutes for all these 7 things. Now, the second one is purity. So, what did we do for purity? We substituted purity with cleanliness. So, cleanliness, rituals, these are the substitutes for purity. So, that's why we resort to a lot of cleanliness and rituals these days, all this detox and whatnot, this aura cleaning and this and that, because it temporarily makes us give that feeling that, okay, now I'm pure. You have lemon honey water, and then you say, okay, I'm feeling purer now, it's detoxing my body. So, all these thoughts that we create while taking a substitute for purity, or I clean the whole place and then I say, now I feel good, now I feel pure. So these are the substitutes we adhere to in the absence of genuine experience of purity that should come from within. So when I don't feel pure inside, because there's a lot of impurity related to the way we think, the way we talk, the way we behave. So there is a lot of lust, ego, anger, attachment, greed in thought, word and action, and that makes us feel very, very impure. We are not operating from a pure place within. So that's why we need to use these substitutes, taking regular like cleaning the body more than wanted. Some people get to this feeling that I need to wash my hands very much, not just in this coronavirus situation but otherwise also. There's a fixation with too much of washing, too much of cleaning, too much of detoxifying, because of this internal feeling that we are all yearning for, which is the feeling of purity. Then there's the third one, which is peace. So we go for nature walks and we go to resorts which have a natural environment, or we try to be more in a surrounding where there is no sound, or there is just the natural sounds. So all this to support the dearth or the void of peace inside. Then we for happy then there is love. So for love, what did we do? We created our Instagram accounts and our Facebook accounts, and then we posted pictures of who we are not. Because if you see anybody these days, I find it very interesting that people click pictures of themselves which look nothing like them and then they post it, and then when people comment on those pictures they feel happy. So we try to project a form of ourselves, even if it's a physical form, which is not even close to how we look or how we are. Some people will use some filter that makes them look thin, or some filter that makes them look fairer or something or the other, and then we'll post it and upload it on the net. And then we will wait for three things which we consider as love, appreciation, acceptance and approval. So when people give us comments and likes and appreciation, then we feel loved. So we have created this whole pseudo idea of ourselves so that we can have that love. Or if we are not genuinely loveful, then we are not receiving love, because love is always reciprocal. So if I am not genuinely loveful towards the members of my family, or if I'm not a loveful soul, then I don't radiate that energy to people around me. then mostly at home, the people I live with are not radiating that energy back to me. So then I try to be extra sweet with people that I meet less often, and then I will want to elicit their acceptance, their approval, and their appreciation, because we are all seeking love. And then when we are not able to get it by hook, we get it by crook. So this is that whole thing about that quest of love that we have inside. Then about happiness, we buy, we shop, we accumulate, accumulation, shopping, acquiring things. This is what we do for happiness. And then there is bliss. So bliss is for bliss, what we do is we indulge in peak experiences of sensual pleasure, tingling our tongue like anything, eating food, and then when we have food that has all the tastes and all the flavors and a lot of masala and oil and whatnot, and then we'll say aaj to anand aa gaya. So that is what we do for anand. So stimulating our senses in a big way, whether it is through food or through alcohol or through drugs or through sexual activities or something or the other. So this is the way we have pursued anand in our lives. But the whole problem is all these pursuits are depend on external factors, and then the phenomena that I discussed yesterday is that when we don't use our internal facilities, because we are a loveful, peaceful, blissful, powerful. Now about power also, we try to acquire more money and more fame and more labels and positions and basically external power, whether it's financial power, whether it's professional positions, so that we feel powerful inside. Now the problem is, the more we resort to taking it from the external, we are not using our internal possibilities more and more. So then what happens is, inside we grow emptier and emptier, while outside we are acquiring it more and more. Simultaneously inside, on the inner front, we are becoming more and more empty, because we are not using what we have within. Now this leads us to a situation where we need increasing quantities of everything to give us the same experience. So now you see, earlier, let's take this anand. So earlier when you used to watch one movie, it would last in your memory for a week, and then you could be happy about watching a movie for a whole week. Do you remember that time? So that was our experience of anand, that it took us one movie to keep us in a state of joy and bliss for 1 week. But then nowadays we keep watching one after the other, and there's this concept of binge watching, because nothing is able to stimulate us enough, and we need too much to be stimulated even a little bit. I'll share an experience in this regard. I was once sitting in my office, and there was a colleague sitting just across me, and that colleague was watching something doing something on the laptop. So I assumed that he's working, because he was very serious faced and he was fully concentrated. So I thought maybe he's doing some research or reading some material, and it's serious business. And I wanted some help from him. So I thought it's not a good idea to disturb him. So I waited. And while I waited, I was constantly observing him, because I wanted him to look at me, and then I would interrupt him and ask for help. So while I kept looking at him, he was really serious faced and he never smiled that whole time. And then suddenly he looked at me and I said, "Excuse me, I wanted a little help, so could you help me?" So he said, "Yeah, yeah, you should have interrupted me earlier. I was doing nothing." So I said, "No, but you looked like very engrossed in whatever you were doing. So I thought it's not a good idea to interrupt you. By the way, what were you doing?" So then he told me, "I was watching stand up comedy." So then I said, "But I don't think your expression said that you were watching stand up comedy because you didn't even smile the whole time, not even once." Then he said, "The jokes were not good." So I said, Were you trying to were you trying to watch comedy to laugh, or were you trying to challenge the comedian कि मुझे हंसा कर तो दिखाओ?" So this is how we are operating these days. We are watching a whole series of stand-up comedy without a smile on our face. We are watching a whole series of horror without getting even a small slight feeling of chill in the spine. So this is how we are going about life, because anything outside is becoming less and less powerful in inducing us to a place where we feel these feelings of love, happiness, bliss, power. And you see, nowadays we shop for 3 hours and it makes us happy for 3 minutes. And then after 3 minutes, that happiness is gone. So anything that is induced by the external, what's happening is we are requiring more and more and more of it to feel the same amount of happiness and or power or love or peace. And then because this is the only way we think we can go about it, that's why we are in this mad run of acquiring resources and acquiring means to ensure that these external infrastructures stay intact, because we want 5 channels, we want 5 apps which give us this binge watching content. We want a lot of stimulating drugs, we want a lot of alcohol in our shelves, we want a lot of food available in our fridge, we want to be able to afford 3, 4, 5, 7, I don't know how many holidays in a year, because we are always living in anxiety. What if I don't have the resources which are making me fill in the inner void that I'm experiencing? And that's why all our focus is on keeping that whole external structure intact. Now, what we don't understand is we are approaching the problem in a very indirect manner. It's like holding your nose by turning your hand around your head and bringing it to your nose. You could just hold it like this. So the problem is, I want to feel knowledgeful, peaceful, loveful, happy, blissful, and powerful, which I can feel even without any of these things that I have, because a feeling is a product of thought, and a thought is a product of consciousness. So if I stay soul conscious, then I will feel knowledgeful because I know what's the problem, what's the lack that I'm experiencing, how do I fill it. When I turn my attention within, I will be able to fill in the void that is existing inside me, and that solves the problem. And then instead of doing everything for peace, for love, for power, we will be able to do everything with peace, with love, and with power. Okay, so this would just turn the tables around. Now, with regard to the question, what we need to understand is, because we have relied on the external for so long to fill us from within, we have developed sanskars. Now let me tell you the whole process by which Four primary sanskars are born. Primary four negative sanskars are born. Now first let's take a feeling of loss. So the rule says all feeling of loss is born out of a false sense of ownership. Okay? So the fact is you don't own anything. Everything has its own trajectory. Yes? Like this body. This body has its own journey. Your actions, nothing that you do can change the journey of this body. I have seen people who have taken very good care of their body fall ill, and I have seen people who have not taken very good care of their body also live a healthy life. So yes, the one part is doing the best you can, but then you can't really change the journey of anything. So now the journey of this body is separate, and my journey, the journey of my feelings and experiences, is separate. Now if I associate these two, if I just entangle these two, then I'm creating a problem. For example, if I create a thought, I am happy because my body is healthy, right? Then when the body is unhealthy, then how do you feel? You feel something is wrong. So then there is a false sense of loss that you experience because in the first place you created a false sense of ownership. Now let's take a very common experience that every mother goes through. A mother gives birth to a child, and the journey of that child is that the child is given to the mother in trust. The mother is a trustee of the child. So the task or the duty of the mother is to give structure, give love, ensure a good upbringing for the child. But in the process, what happens is the mother starts creating a thought that this is my child. And then there is a sense of ownership. Now, in the natural scheme of things, what has to happen is this child has to go and get married to someone else. Yes? And now when this child gets married to someone else, and the mother is fully participant in that. She is the one who gets that girl selected. She is the one who gets him married. And then there is this false sense of loss that I lost my child to that woman who came to the family. Now why does this happen? Because you create a sense of ownership for something that never belongs to you. In a previous class, you were the ones who told me that nothing outside will ever work your way. Yes, everything will change when they have to change. They will perish when they have to perish. And that is the way they are destined to be, designed to be. And you have no control over it. Now, when you say something is mine or something is me, then you create this false sense of ownership, and then you experience this false sense of loss. And with this sense of loss, you experience sadness. And when you experience sadness, and sadness is very difficult to handle. Sadness is one of the emotions which is very, very difficult to handle. Then what do? You try to find someone to blame. Because you can't handle sadness on your own. So then you find someone to blame. Now that child got married off, and now he is not the same with you, or you are not the same with him, and that's reciprocated by him. Either ways, the relationship or the terms and conditions of the relationship are not the same. Now what you do is you can't handle this change. So our relationship with change is very distorted, which we discussed in the previous classes also. So when I can't handle change, I find someone to blame for that change. And in this case, it is the daughter-in-law. Now, when there is a change, you must understand that change is in the scheme of things. And you don't have to associate that change with anybody. You don't have to blame anybody for that change, but you can't help doing that because you are experiencing a sense of loss which is very difficult to handle. So what you do is you find somebody to blame, and then you shift these feelings that you are experiencing from that of sadness to that of anger. So sadness changes into anger when you find somebody to blame. And then when you find nobody to blame, it's a very difficult situation, because then you will be sad for a very long time and it will be very difficult to handle. So you better find somebody and blame them. So then you experience a different set of emotion, which is anger. And then after anger, yes, I will take the question. Let me finish this whole trajectory. Yes. So after anger, then comes fear. Slowly, then you create a thought, okay, now that I invested so much in this one and this changed, and then I was left in sadness and experiences of anger. So now I'm afraid about doing anything in the future, because then I say that maybe this will repeat with me. And then this anger slowly changes into fear. So because we have done this for a very long period in our journey, we experience these primary emotions, these very strong emotions of sadness, anger and fear. And now these emotions are our sanskar. And then we have a lot of other sanskars also. For example, when you are in fear, you stop doing anything and that makes you lazy. So then there is the sanskar of laziness. There are other sanskars also that we have developed. So there are some sanskars which we developed out of this depleting our internal energy. One of them is ego, and then there is attachment, and then out of that attachment and ego were born these sense of sadness, fear and anger. So then similarly you can find out traces of other sanskars also that are present in you. Now yes, Vishwanath Bhai, what were you saying?
So I want to say that if anyone, hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
If
Yeah.
I will call somebody to remove, to blame me in respect of, so that our sadness will remove, then is it not possible that its sadness will increase and we will go demoralized in day by day?
Yes, so that's why we have to work at the root. Yes, that we don't have to create a false sense of ownership and a false sense of loss. If we don't, because see, if the chain starts, then it has to go on. Yes, so we have to work at the root. Okay, thank you. So now you understand how we come about developing these sanskars. Now we have, apart from a man and a buddhi and the original sanskars of the soul, we have these sanskars also. And there are many more sanskars that we have. I will discuss one more sanskar which is very prominent in us, which is we think that other people are responsible for my feelings and I am responsible for other people's feelings. I discussed this in some measure in the second session also, but I will want to highlight this because this is related to the two questions that were put up to me. Now see, when one thing is we learned that other people and situations are responsible for my feelings. And I gave you the example of kapde chote ho gaye hain. Yeah, when the child falls down, then you say, then you beat, then you just pat the earth and say that, अच्छा इसने गिरा दिया तो इसको मारते हैं, है ना? So we do all these, and the child gets a sense that other people and other situations are responsible for my feelings. But there is a counterpart of this, which is I am responsible for how other people feel. For example, when a child doesn't get good grades, then the father would say, देखो मम्मी गुस्सा है ना, मम्मी दुखी है ना, तुमने पढ़ाई नहीं की ना, तुम्हारे को अच्छे मार्क्स नहीं आए ना, इसीलिए देखो मम्मी को दुख हो रहा है ना? So the mother is sad because of you, okay? Or the teacher is unhappy because of you, or your sibling is hurt because of you, okay? Now when we get into this trap of feeling that I am responsible for other people's feelings, then whenever anybody is feeling a certain way, I tend to take it as something to do with me. Right? Now, what is the truth? The truth is, I have a sanskar and the other person who is a soul. Now, every soul has 4 things: a mind, a buddhi, original sanskars and acquired sanskars. Okay? Every soul, irrespective of where they are, who they are, what they are doing, what they are having, irrespective of their gender, their educational level, every soul has 4 things: a mind, a buddhi, an original sanskar set, which has these 7 qualities, and then there is this acquired set, which has anger, ego, greed, attachment, fear, hatred, boredom, laziness, attachment. All these sanskars are there. So this set also every soul has. Now some have some sanskars in prominence, other people have other sanskars in prominence. Now when you are dealing with both the questions that were put up, whether it's the workplace scenario or it is the scenario at home, it involves 2 or more souls. Now when I'm engaging with another soul or 2 or 3 more souls, the fact of the matter is we are all operating from our sanskars. Yes? Now, somebody just ignores me, or they don't recognize my presence or acknowledge my presence. Okay? Now, when they do that, the sanskar that gets triggered in me is, if they are not acknowledging me, it has got something to do with me. Right? But the truth is, if they are not acknowledging you, it's got something to do with their sanskar, not with you. Alright? And the fact that you are feeling bad about it has got something to do with your sanskar. Okay? So you have to first diagnose the problem clearly. Whenever you go to a doctor for treatment, the most important part of the treatment is the diagnosis. So if you don't diagnose the problem well, then you will be treating the problem in a manner which is actually not the problem. So if you are trying to treat the other person and think, if you are trying to blame yourself and think that if they are not acknowledging me, then there's a problem with me and I need to change, then you may keep doing it all your life. and it may not make a difference to them. Okay, but when you understand that if they are not acknowledging you, it's about them, and if you are feeling hurt, it's about you, then you understand where the problem is, and your problem is just not to feel hurt. Your problem is not to bring them to a place where they acknowledge you, because we are all different, and it may so be that actually I and they are so different that we cannot recognize each other's presence, we cannot understand each other's ideas, and that should be okay. There is an expression which says agree to disagree. So we should try to agree, but when we can't agree to everything, we should agree to disagree. And this is a very good thing to know, that we can coexist with each other even when they are not being okay with my presence, or they are not radiating the right kind of energy to me. I can still be in that milieu and be very okay. And if I am okay, then probably I create that bridge where they also start respecting my presence, even if not accepting my presence. Even if they are not happy about my presence, they will still start respecting my presence, that okay, I'm there and it's okay. Okay. Now I will give you a very small example in this. There was in an office, there were two friends, and one of the friends was a Sardarji and another was another person. This is for reference actually. So now this Sardarji was very hardworking, and this other person was very good at appeasing people and in flattery and other skills, and he would run personal errands for the boss, and the boss would always be very happy with him. But the Sardarji kept working, and more often than not, he was even working, doing the work that this person didn't do or neglected because of his other pursuits. So now it so happened that since they were good friends, there was no problem and they were going along. Now then came the time of promotion, and this person got promotion. Who? The one who was flattering. And the Sardarji who was hardworking was left behind. Now the Sardarji was very annoyed for the first time, and when this friend came to him, he said, "You are a backstabber and I don't want to be friends with you." So this person surprisingly couldn't get what this person was saying, and he said, "When did I backstab you?" So I said, "I kept toiling, I kept working hard, and you kept doing all the wrong things, and now the boss gave you a promotion and he didn't give me a promotion. So you took away my right. You took away what I deserved." So then this fellow said, "If you give me a minute, I will explain myself." So then this person said, "Although there's nothing to explain, you please go ahead and say whatever you have to." Then this person said that, "See, I will ask you a very simple question and you answer me with a yes and no. Yes or no." So he asked the Sardarji, "Can you do what I do? Can you butter people? Can you run their personal errands? Can you appease the boss? Can you keep him happy?" So then this person said, "No, and I don't want to do it." So he said, "No, I'm not asking you whether you want to do it. I'm asking you whether you can do it." So he said, "No, I can't do it." So then he said, "Then why don't you understand I can't do what you do? I have never worked in my life. I don't know how to work. Just like you don't know how to butter people, I don't know how to work. So I'm not doing anything against you. I'm doing what I know how to do. And I also have a right to survive given my skill set. Because I also have a family to feed. I also have reasons to be in the prominence and get a promotion. So I'm just using what I know how to do to get to a place of having a comfortable life. And you are using what you have and you know to get to a place of living a comfortable life. So why do you think my way is wrong and your way is right? So then this solved the problem that actually nobody is doing anything for us or against us. They are just doing as they can. And they are doing it according to their abilities, their sanskars. And we are, whatever we perceive is according to our ability and our sanskar. Got it? So when we get this clear, now in a workplace scenario also, this is a workplace scenario which I told you. So the question about how to deal with people who are pulling you down in a workplace scenario. So you must understand everybody will do what they know how to do. And what you have to do is you have to stop devoting your time, energy and attention to thinking and deciding upon what they should do and what they shouldn't do. And if you pull that time, energy, attention away from them and focus on what is your skill set, what can you do? What can you do best given your set of sanskars? Then you will be able to come up with a policy or a strategy for winning in your case, like for a strategy which works for you. And when you do that, when you are not working against anyone but for yourself, then you will be able to win. Okay? Now I will tell you, I have been in situations where just like everybody, somebody's trying to defame you or somebody's trying to pull you down. And when I had lack of knowledge, I have tried to do what they are doing. But I have failed miserably because I'm not good at it. So I must learn that you are not good at what they are doing, but you are good at something. So if you don't focus on what they are good at, and if you don't spend your time and energy deciding how they should be and what they are doing wrong or right, and if you try to focus on what you can do, and when you are in peace, when you are focused on yourself, when you are trying to improve your strengths and work on your weaknesses with a positive, powerful, peaceful, purposeful mindset, then you will be able to carve out a strategy for yourself and nobody can stop you from getting what is destined for you. Got it? So this is the thing about practical application of how we go about applying this soul consciousness. We will also understand, there'll be a chapter which is linked to this, which is we will also understand living soul consciously part 2 tomorrow, because we have to understand there are other deep rooted belief systems related to relationships and roles and bodies and cultures, and there are moralities and ethics which stop us from functioning in the best manner that we can. So we will cover all those tomorrow also. Now let's have a few minutes of meditation and then we'll finish the session. If you have any questions, you can write them on WhatsApp. You all have the WhatsApp number, or if you're watching on Facebook, you can write them on Facebook and we can take them up tomorrow. Okay? So let's have a few minutes of meditation. Sit back. Keep your body relaxed. Slowly bring your awareness to yourself. Turn your attention inwards and become aware of yourself. I am the being of light in the center of the forehead. I am a pure being. See the light of purity radiate from you and shine on your face. Gentle white rays of purity coming out of me are falling on my face, and my face glows with the light of purity. Subtle white radiances emerge from me, the pure being, the pure soul, and light up my face. And slowly they light up my whole body. I am the source of the energy of purity, and every cell of my body is experiencing this energy right now. There is an orb of light that I create around myself as I stay in this consciousness of a pure being. This orb of light around me works like my personal shell of protection. This is my frequency, my vibration. Wherever I go, I carry this orb of light with me. The energy outside doesn't affect me. I am not affected by the vibrations and behaviors of people and situations around me. I stay protected in the shell of purity created by my consciousness. Just spend a few moments in this awareness.